Hey guys, it's Saga from TechWorks and I'm back with another camera comparison. This time, I'm putting the cameras on the POCO F1 against the much more pricier iPhone XR. Ever since they have been launched, I've got a lot of comments asking me to compare the cameras of the POCO F1 with the ones on the iPhone XS Max. But since the iPhone XR is priced much lower than the iPhone XS Max, I thought it would be better to compare the cameras on these two devices. To put a perspective on things, POCO F1 starts at 19,999 rupees, while the base variant of the iPhone XR will set you back by 76,900 rupees. So the iPhone XR costs almost 4 times as much as the POCO F1. This time, let us try and find out if the camera on the POCO F1 is 1/4 as good as that of the iPhone XR. Before we go any further in this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the amazing videos coming up on this channel. We have a lot of image and video samples to go through, so instead of walking you through all the specifications, here is a slide showing you all the relevant camera specs on both these phones. You can pause the video and go through them if you like. If you want a detailed look at the camera interface of any of these phones, I will suggest you to take a look at my dedicated camera reviews of both these phones. I will leave card to both those videos on the top right corner of the screen and also link them in the description section. Right from the day they came out, I am carrying these two phones and a lot of other phones with me wherever I go. So I have a lot of image and video samples in various lighting conditions. There are a lot of details in the images from both these phones, but there is a distinct difference in the way that both of them capture and represent colors. In almost all of its images, POCO F1 is showing a bit dull looking colors, and there is also a green tint in most of its images. iPhone XR on the other hand is showing much richer looking and true to life colors. I have left the Smart HDR mode on the iPhone XR and the AI mode on the POCO F1 on for all of these images. And I know someone is going to ask me about this in the comments, so yes, both the phones are running their respective latest operating systems. With the AI and HDR mode turned on, POCO F1 shows good dynamic range in its images, but the Smart HDR on the iPhone XR is on a whole new level. iPhone not only brings up the shadows in these images, but it also preserves a lot of details in the highlights and ensures we get very pleasing looking colors in all of its shots. Look at this sunset shot from the POCO F1. It is nicely exposed, you can see the sun, its reflection in the water and the sky as well. Now look at the same image from the iPhone XR. As I said before, it is on a whole new level. Even in this image, you can see the iPhone XR preserving all the colors of the scene and at the same time bringing up much more details from the shadows. Both these phones are quick at switching the focus from far to near objects. This is very important while taking close-up and macro shots like this. iPhone again shows a bit better dynamic range, so the background in its close-up shots is a bit more pleasing to look at. Main subject that we are trying to focus on is a bit softer in the close-up shots from the POCO F1, while on the iPhone XR it is in perfect sharp focus. Coming to the portrait shots, this is where we see an even wider difference in the images from both these phones. POCO F1 uses both its camera for the portrait shots, while the iPhone XR relies heavily on the software algorithms to get this one right, as it only comes with a single camera at the back. Even with this single camera, portrait mode images from the iPhone XR are much better. Edge detection, separation of the subject from the background, overall dynamic range and colors, everything is much better in the portrait shots from the iPhone XR. Not only that, the subject that you are trying to keep in focus is much softer in the portrait shots from the POCO F1, while they are way sharper in the images from the iPhone XR. And these results are consistent as you move to lower lighting conditions as well. POCO F1 has been showing much softer portrait shots right from the first day. At first, I thought my device had some issue, so I borrowed 2 different units from my friends, and this issue is present on all those devices as well. Surprisingly, as you can see in these images, POCO F1 is very sharp while taking portrait mode images of non-human objects. I hope Xiaomi is aware of this issue and is working on fixing it in one of the future software updates. iPhone XR does not allow you to take portrait mode images of objects with the native camera app. For some reason, it needs to detect faces in order to take portrait shots. I tricked it by taking portrait mode images of mannequins and statues, but for taking portrait mode images of objects like this, you will have to use certain third-party apps, which is a bit inconvenient. Now let us check out some of the images from artificial and lower lighting situations as the light went down. For the price at which it comes in, POCO is doing really well in these conditions, but the iPhone XR again beats it by quite a margin. You can see the iPhone capturing much more light and details in these situations. Its images are not only brighter, but they are also a lot sharper, it handles the exposure in a much better way, and they also have a lot less noise in them compared to the images from the POCO F1. The single camera on the iPhone XR has a wide aperture of f1.8, so it lets in more light on the sensor. And the camera also gets optical image stabilization, so the sensor can gather more information in lower light. The A12 Bionic processor on the iPhone XR is also much better at processing these images and keeping the noise level to a minimum compared to the Snapdragon 845 processor on the POCO F1. Actually, the Snapdragon processor on the POCO F1 is capable of taking much better images than this, but I guess POCO is not working hard enough to optimize image processing on their phone. That brings us to the front-facing cameras. POCO F1 has a mammoth 20 megapixel selfie camera, whereas the iPhone XR just comes with a 7 megapixel one. Now, despite of this fact, you won't see a lot of difference in the amount of details being captured by both. What is apparent is that the POCO F1 has a much wider field of view compared to the front-facing camera of the iPhone XR, which I really like. Both phones can take portrait selfies, and they are very accurate at detecting the edges and separating the subject from the background. iPhone XR shows much better dynamic range for the front-facing camera as well. Just look at how the POCO F1 is overexposing the background in these images to a point where we can barely see any details, while the iPhone XR is perfectly managing the exposure and preserving all the colors in its images. Here's a video from the front-facing camera of the POCO F1 and the iPhone XR. You can see how both these phones are handling the overall exposure of the scene, colors, and the stabilization when I'm walking around with them. Both these phones can shoot 1080p and 4K videos in 30 fps. iPhone gets optical image stabilization, while POCO uses electronic stabilization to keep these 1080p videos smooth. And here's a 4K 30 fps video sample from both the phones. iPhone again gets optical image stabilization, but videos from the POCO F1 are not stabilized at this resolution. iPhone can also shoot 4K videos at 60 fps, and overall, it is much better at shooting videos than the POCO F1 at any resolution. So after looking at all these image and video samples, it is clear that the iPhone XR is much better than the POCO F1 in all lighting conditions. Its images consistently show good colors, good dynamic range, more details in lower light, and the video that it captures also look very good and smooth. But that doesn't mean POCO F1 has a bad camera or anything like that. It performs decently for the price at which it comes in. In certain conditions, iPhone XR was much better, but it also cost much more than the POCO F1, so keep that in mind. So at the starting of this video, we were trying to find out if the camera on the POCO F1 is 1/4 as good as the one on the iPhone XR, and I think the answer to that question is a definite yes. It may actually be even half as good as the iPhone XR, but it's difficult to actually quantify this. I think POCO F1 has got a lot of potential since it is using very good camera sensors and processor. I think their team just needs to work hard on taking better advantage of this hardware. I'm not going to tell you that which one of these you should buy. You're smart enough to figure it out on yourself based on your needs and bank balance. Personally, I will go with the iPhone XR. Firstly, because I can afford it, and it also means I will have to spend less time editing these images to make them look better. Whereas with the POCO F1, I will have to put in much more work and efforts even after I have clicked the image to make them look better. I know everyone has different needs, wants, and expectations from their smartphones, so your choice may not be same as mine, and I respect that. But I am also always interested in knowing which of these devices would you guys go with, so make sure to let me know about it in the comments. That is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.